So I don't actually think of writing as an object you produce for a market-based economy. I know that's what we do. I know we're sort of squeezed into that pattern where if you want to be a writer, you better publish and you better sell it and it better enter this market system. I get it. It's just that my writing, and the writing I love the most in the world, isn't stuck in that prison house. It isn't stuck in jail. It isn't stuck in capitalism. It moves beyond it or challenges it or makes it itch. And so what I'm suggesting is that even if you're the one who wants to be published or sell the book or be famous or whatever it is, could we also talk about turning writing into something else? And the thing I wish we could turn it into is change. I mean, take basic things everybody has a common language about, like plot and character and voice. Well, we have this giant tome of information about how to do plot and character and voice, but what can we add to the tome that comes from just us and nobody else? You're the only person on the planet who knows how to tell the story the way you would tell it. Why isn't that vital? Why isn't that valid? Why can't we teach each other about those private understandings that are exclusive to you? That's your expertise. Why can't we share them and make something from them? So like, for example, so we know plot, it's the sequence of events, the way the author arranges them, right? I mean, it's like the most boring way to think about telling a story that I can possibly imagine. Also, linear plot is still the strongest example out there of how to tell a story for reasons I can't understand how it can be 2015 and there's anyone left telling linear plot. That's not how our lives happen to us. You want to know how your life happens to you? You're walking around out there in the world and you are bombarded with stimuli every nanosecond. Well, what does that form look like? How can you tell a story that brings some of that physical and real experience onto the page as a way of telling a story? Or take character. So the tradition we inherit, whether you know it or not, is called psychological realism. It's where you try and get the internal development of the character and the external development of the character to kind of obey a psychologically believable reality. And that's cool. And we love those characters. I love them. And I'm a slutty reader. I read all low art to high art and everything in between, and I don't care about the hierarchy at all. But there are other ways to think about how to make character. For example, why couldn't we make a character by thinking about emotional and physical intensities that happen kind of randomly and crash into each other, which is what I did in the novel The Small Backs of Children. There's no character development of a single main character that happens over 300 pages. There are micro-intensities for characters that happen in flashes, in brief moments, where you get a glimpse of their emotional or physical intensity. And that's a way to make character. Why? Because I said so. And because this is our lived experience, and because when we talk about it and share it and make it with one another, it becomes a narrative form available to us. We make it. We don't let somebody tell us how to make it. We make it. And if I share mine with you and you share yours with me, we've got more shit in our toolbox that didn't happen from the master or the expert. It happened from laterally generating ideas together and asking ourselves, how do you make plot or character differently than we've made it in the past, even though the past was cool too? That's great. But what else? So my question is, what else? With plot, with character, with voice, with style, with tone. And maybe with some things we haven't thought of that could also be elements of narrative that aren't in the textbooks. It's just a what if. It's just a way to turn writing back into exploration and discovery rather than rote memorization of what came before. And I just want to do it with other people. I don't know if anyone else out there agrees with me, but I actually think there's kind of an urgent imperative for us as writers right now in time to radically re-envision what we mean when we say writing. And I don't just mean how you get published or where you get published or honing your editing skills. I mean literally reimagining your own writing. And I don't take that lightly either, because I've changed what I write and how I write every 10 years or so in radical ways. And it also made a change in my life. Here's why we need a radical re-envisioning of what we used to mean when we said short story or essay or novel or chapter. We need to reflect what it feels like now to be in this time and this place in our lives. For example, what's happening with climate change has never happened in the way it's happening right now. Why don't our pages reflect those changes? Why don't our forms and themes explode with new kinds of storytelling that show, hey, this moment is urgently different than other moments? So I like to play in workshops, and the exercise I'm about to give you now has to do with tricking yourself into actively pursuing stories you haven't told a gazillion times before. So step one has to do with selecting 3 ages you've been in your life. You know, like 7, 18, and 44. And the exercise is called Going Deeper. And it can be for fiction writing, it can be for nonfiction writing, it can be for lyric essay or poetry or whatever you want. You're going to write 3 narrative fragments about this big in case you need a size indicator, because size matters. And in each narrative fragment, you're going to describe a scene about winter, a memory you have about winter, or a created scene about winter, from the point of view of one of those 3 ages. And when you're done, you're going to have 3 fragments on winter from those different ages, real or imagined. It's not a hard exercise. So you get your paper out or your computer and you go do that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and wait for you, because that is lame. But if we were in a face-to-face workshop, that's what I'd do. And then we'd share them, and we'd listen for the things we liked, but also any echoes or repetitions that happen. But that's just step 1 of the exercise. Step 2 is I want you to answer this question for each narrative fragment that you wrote in 1 sentence. You get 1 sentence to answer it. And the question is, and what is the story underneath that? Answer it in 1 sentence for each fragment so that you have 3 sentences. Then you go write 3 more fragments from those 3 sentences by putting them at the top of a page. And you're still not done. After you've done that process over again with the 3 sentences that you got by asking the question, and what is the story underneath that? You ask the same question of those 3 fragments, and you get 1 sentence to answer it. And you put each of those 3 sentences on the top of a page and write about it again from these 3 key ages of you or an imagined character. And if you were in a room with me, I'd make you do it till you petered out. I'd make you do it until you fucking wanted to claw my eyes out. Because I actually believe your best writing comes when you've exhausted yourself, and not when you're feeling fancy and smart and you know what you're doing and everything's easy. So you would keep doing that act of excavation, that act of labor, until there were no more answers to, and what is the story underneath that? Until there was a bottom. And just like with alcoholics, there is a bottom to your creativity where you have no more answers, and then maybe, just maybe, you are surfacing some material that really is going to blow somebody away, instead of the same old thing you always write forever and ever. Kapow. Hey, if any ideas in this video resonated with you, please let us know in the comments. You can ask a question or take a shot at the assignment or share what you'd like to explore in upcoming talks. We'd love it if you'd like, comment, and share, and we'll be sure to reward those actions because I love presents. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and join us at corporealwriting.online to make sure you don't miss what's coming up next. Because what's coming up next is a writing revolution. Art matters. Thanks.